What's going on YouTube? Another sharpening video here. I'm kind of cranking them out here lately. This one is had a request, and I wanted to do it anyway, on a natural stone, the Amakusa. I think specifically the Amakusa red stone is what this is called. I'll get you a little shot here. I actually sealed this one. I don't know that people normally seal Amakusas. I know they normally seal the higher gritted, or they're not really grit, but the higher hardness ones. And these are usually more porous. I don't know if they do or not, but I did, and the reason I did is if you kind of look here, you can see like a little crack line starting to form. I don't know if that'll zoom in or not, or focus. But I saw that and I thought, I mean, what's it going to hurt? This wasn't a very expensive stone. I think I paid 35 bucks plus shipping, like 10 bucks, so you know, $45, etc., roughly. Anyway, they're kind of having some issues getting exactly the results they wanted with their Amakusas, and another one I think had a question just kind of about how they were in general. And I apologize if I got that wrong, guys, and you're watching, but that would be Tennis Steve, I believe, and Dmitry Belikov on Reddit. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to sharpen. I was going to use SK4 steel. There was a request for that. I do have an SK4 steel knife, but I do believe it's at work. I looked for it. It's not at my normal place. I did take it to work the other day. I don't think I brought it home. I was showing one of the guys at work. He's a chef. Anyway, so this is going to be a Shirogami Nakiri, Nakiri. This is actually, oh, that's a terrible bit of lighting on on that one. I'll put it under here. There's like this weird coating that seems to be peeling. It's kind of like plastic, like almost like a protective film. I didn't know that was on there until I started sharpening it a few weeks back and using it. I bought this off Amazon. It's legit, you know, hand forged. It's kind of one of those things, kind of like Hatsu Kokoro, I believe is the name of the knife, where there's a lot of blacksmiths, and they just kind of source different knives from different blacksmiths. They don't usually disclose who they are. You usually get them cheaper. I got this for 52 bucks, and it's a laser. I'm going to show you that in a second because I'm kind of sad to dull it, but I'm going to show you. I sharpened it, this one up to a 6K edge, no, 8K, just because I wanted to. And again, aside of this little peeling, I don't know if you can, how good that shows up. Yeah, you can see it there on both sides. Aside of that, though, I mean, it's got a little patina form. That's normal, obviously, with a reactive steel knife. It's a soft iron cladding, just like normal, everyday, more expensive Shirogami sand mine knives. I did find, because I looked up the kanji, and I did find the actual blacksmith and the brand, so to speak. I'll have to look it up, and I'll put it in like the comments or something. And again, they weren't very expensive even then. It's not like it's, you know, Moritaka or something like that. But it wasn't an unknown blacksmith, just not as popular as the others. So anyway, 50 bucks. It was like 40 something, and then by the time, you know, tax and all that crap, it was like $51. You really can't beat that. It's a good size. But I'll show you guys here. So before I dull it, this is first, I mean, it is like frickin' butter. Look, I'll take my fingers off and just drag this thing through the paper. Let you listen to it. I mean, that is smooth as glass. One of my favorite things to do to test them, just to see, oh man, I just smacked it against that clamp, the famous clamp. So this is one of my favorite things to do. I'll take the knife, I'll hold it here. I'm just gonna take this paper and I'm just gonna run it into the blade, right, while I'm just holding it. So I'm not gonna move the blade at all. I'll take the knife here and we'll just go, oop, I missed it. You gotta actually hit the paper, or the blade with the paper, so. Okay, I did hit the blade with the paper. Man, it makes me look so stupid every time I wanna show you guys this, and I do it all the time with this knife, especially. So as I just shoved it on there, it'll cut right through. This thing is a laser beam, so I'm gonna dull it though, and it's gonna make me extremely sad. Let's get a few more Nice. Well, see, yeah. I bet you I freaking smashed it against that daggum clamp like I did the other one because I got a hang all of a sudden right there. I'm going to dull it on this amazing Sharp Pebble wannabe Chinese corundum 1000, 6000, which is probably more like 200, 800 stone real quick. I may cut the video here, but at the same time, I may just let you watch. So other people do it and you guys watch, so let's give it a shot here. So we're just going to run it over this stone, I don't know, 10 times. We'll see how sharp it is. Oh God, man, it's really, I hate doing this, but here we go. The other day I was doing this with that Santoku, that cheap Chinese or Japanese one that I like to use. And I did like, I don't know, 2 or 3 of those passes like that, and I slipped right on my thumb. I was like, whoa. Lucky for me, it was already dull. I'll just count this over again. Oh gosh, that makes me cringe so bad. You have no idea. I'm sure it makes you guys cringe too. I hate watching people do that, but I didn't have a already dull one and not white steel. Man, it's still going. Holy crap! That's a testament to the knife and the steel, right? I mean, it's hanging, but I've ran that blade like this on this stone on the 1000 grit side at least 20 times by that time. So anyway, here we go. I'm trying not to put a shit ton of pressure on it because Lord knows I don't want to completely damage the I know I won't, but God, oh, it's like nails on a chalkboard. Let's see if we're dull now. Okay, yes. You saw what it did do. You saw what it's not doing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to sharpen on this Amakusa, and as a little bonus, I'm going to use this Aoto, Aoto, I don't know, Aoto. I sealed this one too, and I definitely believe I needed to do that. This one is I have no idea. I posted about it in Reddit. There's a Kyoto, I believe is the mine. Like this one's a Morihei redistributed, whatever. I believe this one's Kyoto, Kyoto. It's got a really long name. It's like Kyoto, Tanba, Tenon, Aoto. Something like that. Anyway, so I'm going to run it on this Amakusa, which is supposed to roughly translate into around the between 600 and 1200 grit range. With natural stones, it's not the same as synthetic stones. You don't get a consistent grit, right? Where if you get 1000 grit stone, that's a quality stone that's synthetic, all the way through that thing, you're getting 1000 grit. You know that you're sharpening with 1000 grit. You know what kind of pressure to apply, etc. Natural stones, they don't work like that. They have a rough equivalent to synthetic, and again, that's why there's a range. So it's usually a hardness range. I think this one's hardness is a 2.5 to 3, and I believe this one's 3.5 to 4 something. Don't hold me to that. I'll have to look it up. I didn't memorize it yet. So anyway, without further ado, we'll go ahead and sharpen this unfortunately now dull white #2 steel Nakiri from Amazon that was $50. $50, no hollers. So while we're doing this, I'm going to use filtered water for these, or distilled water. I don't know. I know a lot of people do it with naturals. I haven't really had a problem not using filtered water, but they seem to think that it'll clog them over time, and I guess maybe it will with the impurities in tap water. I don't know. So we'll just give it a shot. One of the things I noticed before I start here, there was stampings on the top. So there's a top and a bottom, right, to any stone, synthetic, natural, whatever. This one, the Aoto, there's a smooth surface, but the bottom was rough, just like the sides there. And that's clear. I use clear fingernail polish, nitrocellulose, to do this. But it was just as rough on the sides and the bottom, but the top like I said, at the prepared surface. This Amakusa was the same top and bottom. It was smooth. The thing is whenever, with all stones that have stamping on the face, I try and flip them and use the bottom because I'm a freak like that. I like to look at the Japanese symbols and the writing. And so I flipped it over on the bottom. I couldn't really get a burr. And I believe that's what some of you guys have had a problem with your Amakusas. Couldn't get a burr. I was like, is it my technique? Am I doing something wrong? So I flipped it over to the top side, and I was actually able to get a decent burr after several more passes than I would with a synthetic. So then I'm like, man, I don't know why, what's wrong. But what I did was I used my Atoma 400 on the bottom first, just to make sure it was level and flat. And I heard that that can cause a problem with these natural stones especially. So I took my chef knives to go 140 grit diamond plate, and then I ran that over it for several passes, cleaned it off, and then I used the bottom, and I was able to sharpen the same as I was the top. So that's one thing. If you guys are experiencing a problem, run a 140 grit plate over yours, leave the slurry on, and see what kind of sharpening you can achieve at that point. Another thing is get a Nagara, run a Nagara on it. Get one that's like the, what is it, the Nanawa Iridoris, kind of like these guys right here. Let me get that out real quick and I'll show you. This one's 1,000 grit that I got. But yeah, so like these. And get like the 600 grit, 400 grit, whatever, 800, I think there's 800. Get one of those, or if you have one that's the equivalent to that, and run it over these Amakusas, create a slurry with that grit rating, and see if that helps. Natural stones, if they're not naturally muddy, they need help to a degree. Not all of them, but like these especially. So those Nagaras with those grits are going to definitely help. But you can also create your own slurry, like I said, with that 140 plate, and you can use that and it'll work as well too. I'm going to try it without it first and see if I get any kind of result, and then I'll use some kind of stone to bring out a slurry and see what we get. So here we go. I know the edge of this one, or the angle, so I'm not going to find it. I'm just going to get right into it. Hope you guys had a good weekend. Hope everything's been good. Hope you've enjoyed my other videos. And man, by the way, my fingers, I rubbed them raw this weekend doing sharpening videos. They're red and inflamed, and I'm about to use those finger condoms at some point because, man, it hurts. But yeah, the other videos, man, I was disappointed by the Sharpal 1K, 6K stones. Man, that was... I haven't had an experience like that in a long time sharpening. It was really frustrating. But I have to give it, props where props are due. At the end there, that stone put a really good polish on that stainless steel Santoku I was using. I don't know why I even think there's a burr right yet, but I'll just check it, just force a habit. But yeah, it did a really good job putting a burr on there. I'm not going to lie about that. I went through a few more passes after I, turned off the video. And what I noticed was, with a little bit more polishing, a little bit more patience, that I was able to get a pretty good result. Making sure I found my angle there, tilting the knife up, drug it backwards until it started to slip a little bit. So then I raised it back up and found my angle like I explained in those other videos. Just making sure I'm using moderate pressure. So in the other videos I talk about I'm using very light pressure. On this, I'm using moderate pressure. The reason being is because I've had troubles like you guys have had getting a burr. So I'm using moderate pressure to see if that's what I need to do first. And I can tell you I am getting a burr now. Now, the burr that I've gotten, it's mostly here in the back. I got a little bit there in the middle and one spot in the top. So that tells me that I need to be more even with my pressure at least. So we'll go ahead and we'll do that. Let's go ahead and make sure we got the right pressure. And here we go again. I was scared to use this when I first got it too. I don't know how you guys' Amakusas are, but there's holes, you know. It's a very porous stone. And I was like, man, is that gonna hurt my knife, you know? It doesn't, but I was really, really concerned about that. Make sure I got my edge correct again here. So you just drag it backwards, those that don't know, and then lean it until it slips, which it just slipped. Then you just raise it up a hair. And that's your factory bevel. So I'm applying a little bit more pressure than I did with the moderate pressure at first. It almost feels like I'm giving too much pressure based on what I've trained myself to do with pressure. I also wonder how many times I can say pressure in this video. You can probably hear that it's being heavily drug across this stone. But with these, it's a harder stone than you're used to probably. And again, with this being a 2.5, 3, it could have even been 3.5. You may find yourself needing to give it some more pressure, so don't be afraid. I'm gonna hit this middle some more here. Get it with a little bit of speed. Let's just see if this gives us any different result. So I ordered some things for some giveaways coming up, and like I said, I was going to give away one of those inexpensive Japanese Nakiris. I'm going to give away a stone, and so I got some stuff coming that I'll show you guys in an upcoming video. It'll be part of that giveaway. I think you guys will like it. All right, so we don't really have much in the way of like a buildup, right? Slurry, anything. So I'm going to, and I do have a burr. I did mention that I have a burr. It is not significant. This knife actually doesn't have much of a significant burr anyway, but it has more than what I'm feeling, and I only know that from experience, right? So if you know your knife, or it's a brand new knife and you don't know, I mean, just go ahead with it and see what kind of result you get. But up here, I don't know. I don't know why I'm not getting a burr. I'm putting equal pressure. I'm doing the proper angle for the bevel. I'm going to use regular water for a second here. It could be a number of things, right? It could be maybe that I just need to spend more time in that area, so I'm going to do that. If I still don't get enough burr, I'll do the slurry thing and show you with this cheap sharp pebble, which is, like I said, it's about 400 grit. And on that, if this isn't very friable, this is more to remove stone and correct leveling, so to speak. And that way it'll bring up its own slurry from itself instead of adding to the grit with a different stone. We'll see. I don't know if you guys can see this, but when I bought it, there weren't any cracks. And I think that comes from my lack of knowledge with J-nats. So you don't want to soak them, and I didn't soak it. You don't want to store them in certain areas. They need to be in a dry, like, room temperature area, from what I understand. Or at least don't have massive swings in temperature. I don't know what happened, but this thing cracked, and then I showed you on the side there was a crack on the side here. And that happened after, like I said, the first sharpen. And I was like, oh my God, I'm going to destroy my stones here. So you got to be more careful with them. That's why I seal them. Sealing them will kind of prevent that to a degree. So don't be afraid to seal them. They use, traditionally, it was Uraushi? Gosh, I don't know. But now they use cashew lacquer. It's kind of hard to source. You can find it. It is mega expensive. I think 2 ounces is $68. And I don't even know that that includes shipping. It is extremely toxic, apparently. And you have to thin it whenever you put it on your stones. But it looks beautiful. Apparently it smells like cat piss, too. I don't know that I'm really in for that. But... All right, come on, baby. I'm applying a lot more pressure than I was in the beginning. I'm not excited about that. That could kind of cause to the stress cracks that I'm seeing on this stone, but we'll see. Well, I've got burr development, but let's see if I do this, if this gives me an even quicker burr real quick. So just gonna rub it on the stone like you would any fixer or nakiri. You can see the stone bringing up a little paste there. You don't want to thin it out with a whole lot of water. Oh gosh, well, that's definitely flat. It's stuck to itself. I'll put a couple of drops on there just to kind of make sure here. And then let's give it a shot now and see what happens. All right, I'm going to go less pressure now. I'm not going to white knuckle it. As you can hear, there's a change, obviously, right? So we got the slurry on top. I'm going to do 20. Move to the next section. Yeah, I mean, it just sounds like I'm kind of running over gravel now. And that just goes to tell you that it's going to do its job cutting. The bottom had a better burr, so I'm not going to spend a ton of passes on the bottom. All right. And just like that. So I've got a great burr now. I'm satisfied that I could go on and flip to the other side. However, just for grins, I'm going to go up one more pass from the bottom to the top. I'm going to give a little bit more of a slurry raise here. All right. And away we go. Again, I'm not going to spend a ton of time down here. Even pressure, like I said, it's a little bit more than the light pressure I normally use with synthetics. And not as heavy as the heaviest that I got. And I mean, I could probably sit here and tell you, apply 1.65 pounds of pressure, but I couldn't tell you how much pressure I'm putting on it for the life of me. All right, and you can see it's darker, so we've got a lot more metal removal, which to be expected, right? I'm gonna wipe this off, double check this burr. Yeah, all right, so we are good. I'm gonna look at this bevel, make sure I don't see, like if I was screwing up and scratching it or anything like that, which it's a cheap knife, so it doesn't really matter that much, I guess. I'm gonna spread this slurry around. I'm gonna give it a little bit more now because this is a different side. You don't have to keep doing it as much as I'm doing, but I just am. I'm trying not to push it off one side too, because I mean, you're going to lose it naturally anyway, because it's going to push from one side to the next. All right, so spread it up a little bit. It's about the consistency of like Elmer's glue. That's about what I would say. Well, maybe a little thinner than Elmer's glue. So that's about where you want it, depending on what you're doing. But for this, that's about where I want it. So I'm going to go ahead on the opposite side here. Give about well, actually, let's see how long it takes to get this side equivalent to the previous side. Now that we've got this slurry, right? See how much metal we take off. Do a count of 20 per section. You can hear how much more productive it is. You can see how much more productive it is. So you guys that were talking to me on Reddit, see, looky there, that's nice and kind of like gray. That's your metal, right? If you look at the color difference, if you can see that between the fresh slurry down here and the slurry that was just used, I mean, that's significantly darker and grayer. But yeah, that's kind of the secret, is a slurry is going to change your experience with your Amakusa. So you guys, Tennis Steve and Dmitry Belkalov, I'm sorry if I'm butchering that, guys. Oh, man, you can hear it. I will say that check the slurry occasionally, because whenever I was just doing that and showing the difference, I felt some like, I don't want to call them pebbles, but like pieces of the stone that were small enough to be like grains of sand, but big enough that they're going to cause gouges on your knife if you leave them. You don't want that. That's going to screw up your edge profile. It's gonna, well, that's gonna gouge it at least. It maybe not screw it up per se, but all right, let's go backwards again. 10, 20. How crazy is that it's November? It's November and it's like 70 something degrees here. I live in the southernmost area of Illinois. I'm closer to Indiana and Kentucky than I am Chicago. Chicago is like, I don't know, 5-6 hours or so north. Kentucky's about 20 minutes southeast, and Indiana's like essentially east. Oh man, significant burr. And I know before I said that that flips that burr over. There's not one here at the back, so I'd have to work on that. But it is significantly more than just if it flipped over, because it was not a huge burr to begin with. So that means we're getting progress. Anyway, yeah, it's freaking warm for November. And it's the cycles. I remember as a kid having Novembers like this. It's just nuts. It just feels wrong. Should be getting ready to, well, I should be in like a hoodie, you know. I don't know, sleeping in like pajama pants that are flannel. This back end is being stubborn right here. I'm gonna give it some more attention here. I'm gonna focus just on that for a minute, and then I'll proceed. So I'm gonna apply some pretty significant pressure to this spot alone. Man, it sounds pretty smooth, you can hear it. Back here's a little rougher, so we'll just kind of focus on it here. And it's okay to focus on just certain spots if they're being stubborn. Let's see if we get a burr. Now we've got that burr. All right, so we're good. So we'll run it up the stone here one more time. And then we'll work on burr removal. I talked to a few of you, and I have the Imanishi, God, I suck at names and I'm so sorry. But the pink brick, the 220 grit pink brick, I have it on the way. It was also recommended for something called the red brick, which I didn't know existed. I have the green brick of joy. I didn't know there was a red brick, but I'm gonna order that because I wanna do 1K shootouts. I've asked on Reddit before what you guys recommend, because I mean, I've got several 1K stones and I like them all, but I know there's so many of them out there. I want to try them all with various steels and see which ones are best for certain steels. So if you have a recommendation, recommend away in the comments, please. I think I'm going to get a Syrax 1000 next also, and I just got the Arashiyama. I've had it for a little bit, so I shouldn't say I just got it. But I haven't used it a ton. It's pretty friable, more so than I thought it would have been. But I like it. It does a really good job. It's a good fast cutter. So, but I want to try different ones out. I'm going to do this stone actually too. Probably my next video will be on 4000 grit finishes. It's going to be this bad boy. I don't know if you can read that, but the Morihei Hishobishi. God, I'm just gonna slaughter these names. I'm gonna tell you right now. That's the 4K. Man, I love Morihei's stuff. This is their synthetic stone that has some natural particles in it, supposedly. I shouldn't say supposedly, it does. I'm just a big fan of what they do. They've been around for a long, long time, so I'm gonna shoot them out. I'm gonna get their, I'm gonna get the 500, the 1000, probably the 9,000, and maybe the 12,000. It's more of a razor stone, but you can still use it for this. So check that out and do a little shootout. All right, so next I'm gonna do the burr removal. So I just do the same angle on the stone itself. I do use the strop sometimes to do this, but I do it this way first. So we'll do 5 passes. We'll just see, number one, how good the Amakusa is, because I've never really paid attention on how good the Amakusa does remove the burr. I think I've always just kind of, ooh, I'm really cutting into something there. That's not good. I've always just moved on, I think, to the next stone when using the Amakusa, and I've not really done burr removal. And you can do that, but I do prefer to deburr on the knife or on the stone itself. Reason being is I've mentioned this in every video too. I don't like to tear the burr off because I don't like the edge. Oh, that's what's happening. Shit. Thank God I caught that. So what I did is, and this is good. This is why you should pay attention. So whenever I took the the knife, and I ran it up the stone, right? I was fine until I got here, and then I kind of leaned it. I'm going to exaggerate it, but I leaned it, and as I leaned it, it cut into that corner of the stone. So just be careful, be mindful that you're putting pressure that's even so that the knife doesn't rock or teeter whenever you're doing this, because you'll have that same result that I did. So again, what I'll do to prevent that is I'll take my fingers here. As I push, what I'll do is I'll just pull the knife out, leaving my fingers to where they're even on the stone. And these Shirogami knives are really good about burr removal. I don't know how much experience you guys have with them, but they are, in my opinion, I mean, them and the Aogami steels are the best at burr removal in my personal experience. I'm not going to sit here and say that there aren't other steels that don't have good success or whatever, but yeah, I have great success with the Shirogami white #2 steel. Just using a rust eraser in case there's any buildup. I do want to look too at this nail polish finish that I used here. I used OPI back to naturals. I don't know, something at Walmart. It was 11 bucks because I didn't want to wait for cashew lacquer, but it works. I put about I think four layers, 4 coats, letting them dry in between. You don't have to let it dry for like 24 hours or anything like you do with the other stuff. I let it dry for approximately, I don't know, an hour, and then I applied the next coat. I got really high and I got a really big headache. So this stone, they're very smooth. For what they're claiming to be grit relation-wise, they're super smooth for what they are, but it does a pretty good job with the edge. One of the things I'm going to do is I'm going to look at it with my little microscope I've talked about before, just to kind of see like if the bevel looks like it has a good scratch pattern. I recommend getting one of these from Amazon if you guys are interested. I'll put a link to one in the description. So that's weird. I do believe that there are some scratch gouges here that are from what I'd mentioned before with what felt like sand pebbles, essentially, that were coming off the stone after running the fixer stone on it to bring up a slurry. But they're not the worst thing. So next, I'm going to run my Aoto. I have not used this stone yet. This is going to be its very first run right here on YouTube. So if I screw things up, it's because I don't have any practice on this stone. I know nothing about it. I did run one side of one knife briefly on it, and I saw that it was kind of muddy. That was it. I think I made 4-5 strokes, and then I saw it was kind of muddy. So If I need to use a Nagara, I'm going to use this Makawa Shiro Nagara, if that's correct. Gosh, these names, they kill me. I got this and I sealed it too. Apparently those are normally used for razors as well. So we'll see. You know, I'm going to test something real quick before we do anything else. So that was dull. You guys saw that it wouldn't cut. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to just see if it cuts. I mean, holy shit. I've never done that with the Amakusa. I've always moved to another stone. I would stop here with certain knives, I guess. Listen to that. Oh, that's a wet spot. That's what she said, right? Let's go, let's go here. All right, let me do it close to the mic. There's some tearing. But man, you could, color me shocked. It's all right. We'll see what this guy does. It's roughly a 2,000-ish. They say between 2,000 and 4,000 grit edge, depending. Pressure, slurry, and amount of water matters a lot on natural stones. That's what I've been reading anyway. So that's why they kind of have a wider range from 2,000 to 4,000, for example. That just depends on how much you're pushing into it. And again, how much lubrication's on the stone and how much slurry its own natural particles are. So anyway, you can see here it's a little thirsty. I noticed that when I first tried to use it. It will soak up water. I think it'll do it for quite some time. So anyway, if you go right to town on it here, it feels slick on the surface. We'll just get right to work. Ooh, so it feels so good. I'm going to stick to my traditional 10 per area. See what happens. I'm going standard light pressure like I normally do with my synthetics. And I can actually see a pretty good looking slurry. Unless I'm not seeing a slurry. Oh, that's not a slurry. That's the stone changing colors because it's running out of water. Do we have a burr? No burr. And I didn't really expect one. But now I'm going to work my way back up. I'm going to go slower. I want to be intentional about this. Kind of feel the stone out and learn the stone. I actually recommend that. Learn your stone's behaviors. I mean, they all kind of act a little differently. They can all feedback similarly, but they can also be different from each other enough that, you know, depending on what you're using, of course, that you couldn't go to the same stone and be like, oh yeah, I can use it this way. I've learned that using a friend of mine. He had, I forgot which one he had. It was, he had two of them, whatever it was. And I'm sorry that I don't know. But they were harder Japanese naturals, and they were identical. Same mine, everything. Same stampings, the whole nine. I think they were in the same hardness. But they both felt different when I used them. It's hard to explain. The feedback mostly, and how they responded to pressure. And they even gave somewhat differing edges because of the fact of the difference in how they behaved to the pressure. It was so weird. But I think that's kind of one of the glories of the Japanese natural stones, is they're kind of their own animal, so to speak, you know. All right, so that feels kind of pasty. That's the best way for me to explain it, on the knife, I should say. Looking at the stone, the slurry is very slick. It's kind of slimy. It's weird to explain it that way. You can see some discoloration. I was under the impression that this was more of a muddier stone, but I'm not really getting a lot of mud. Not yet. Maybe I need to go a little bit more. Maybe I need to use the Nagara. But the first time I used it, I didn't need the Nagara. I'm going to check this edge just to see what it looks like compared to as I started just a little bit ago. So when I look at that, wow, okay. So, honestly, the entire edge, it's crazy. The entire edge, whenever I looked at it after the Amakusa, was jagged. It was toothy. It almost looked as like how I'd mentioned before, if you run your knife through a cork or balsa wood or something to that effect, hard felt, and you strip the burr off, that it kind of leaves a jagged, toothy edge. That's kind of what it looked like. Just those few passes on this side, it's gone. And I know I'm pushing a burr or whatever's left of the metal over to the other side. Actually, let's look at that side where I pushed it, so to speak. And it's actually kind of smooth. Okay, so it's not rough and jagged. It's actually kind of smooth. I mean, it's a little jaggy, a little toothy, so to speak. But that's, that's quite impressive. And I'm, like I said, I'm not putting in a lot of pressure here. Let's give it one more pass, and I'm going to switch sides. Those really deep spots I was telling you about are gone. Let me make sure I got my right edge. Just see how this one responds. Yeah, same thing. Yeah, those pieces of sand that created those gouges I was talking about, those gouges aren't there. Which, that blows my mind, because normally to remove those, you got to do a little bit more than what I've been doing. I mean, yeah, that's what higher grit stones do. Let me readjust this here. But that's insanity. I didn't expect it to be gone that soon, I guess, is what I'm getting at. It's not that I didn't expect that to happen. It's just that that was pretty quick. And for the light amount of pressure. So this stone, I bought it from Bernal Cutlery. They're out of California. This is a B stock item. So it had some cracks in it. Or actually, I shouldn't say cracks, plural. It had a crack in it. The gentleman, and I'm so sorry that I forgot his name, but the gentleman that I spoke to, I told him, I said, look, I don't have a ton of experience with J-Nats. I'm not sure, because they explain about some of these have cracks, some of them have inclusions. You may have to get out with a tool. I said, look, I don't really know a lot about them yet, and I'm going to deep dive them, but can you pick one for me that I would have the least amount of fuss with? And he picked this one for me. Did an excellent job. It does have this one spot here. You can see it's darker, hopefully. Anyway, so it's here, and it moves all the way to here and comes down. So that's actually a crack that, I mean, it was completely separated, but it was fixed. It was repaired professionally. They use super glue, believe it or not. It doesn't affect the stone or how it functions or what it does. And he said that when you get down to that spot, which is going to take some time, all you have to do is just continue to use it. You may have to use a flattening stone or a truing stone or something to get past certain areas of that, but it shouldn't have any effect on its ability to sharpen, and you'll be good for the entirety of the stone. So 75 bucks. I said, yes, please. I'm going to maybe get another one just because I want to see what because each one's different. It's the same but different, right? They're very similar, but they have their own, well, they got their own attitude. You know what I mean? So again, using filtered water. I know I'm rambling on, guys, but I'm really excited about this stone. And I really want to help you guys find these things if you are interested in them. And like I said, 75 bucks, that's cheap. Normally I'm looking at these Japanese naturals and, you know, I'm seeing $800, $900, $1,000, $2,000 price tags. And man, that is way out of my reach. I would absolutely love to get one of those super duper high-end ones, and what are they, Toma Naguras, I think so, or Toma Nagura, I don't know, but yeah, there's just no way I could do that, especially not right now. I was in a car accident in 2020, and I have so many doctor bills. It's insane. That's why I just do what I can, afford what I can. Sharpen knives on the side of my job. I do IT work. Yeah, just do what I can. I got a family to take care of. I love having fun. This is relaxing to me. And that's why eventually I'd like to have another tool, such as those expensive ones, to just because I want to use them. Get into razor honing. So when I do this horizontally, this feels like it has a little bit more drag than the Amakusa does. It feels a little more draggy than my synthetic stones. Not in a bad way necessarily. It's just different. It just feels different. Yeah, that's different. That's a silly way to explain it. It's just different. But I think this back end piece area here is uneven as far as the grind went from the factory on this knife. Again, it was a $50 after tax and whatnot on Amazon knife, so I'm not expecting the world here to be the best fit and finish, but I need to fix that probably. So I'll use this knife and another knife that's very similar, that has a similar issue, and fix those in a video, because you can do that with a low grit stone. Yeah, well, that feels all right. Anyway, just make it even. I watch Ivan the sharpener, and he'll take these out of their handle, and then he'll make sure they're straight. You know, he'll put them in this device, and he'll straighten them and bend them and stuff. It's actually really cool watching him. He lives in Japan, I believe. I don't know if he always did, but he does now, and he does sharpening, and they actually bring him in for a lot of different testing, I guess, of certain stones, because he's done it for so long, and I don't know if he was trained. I need to read more about him. But if you haven't ever had a chance, Ivan the Sharpener, he uses those now. His main go-tos, he does use naturals, and he has others. I mean, he did a demonstration of the Morihei Hishobishis, or whatever those are. But he uses NSK Kogyo diamond stones and the Oboro knife stones. They're all those resin bonded diamond. I like those. I don't have any NSK. I got an NSK Nagara, but I don't have any NSK diamond plates yet. That's another thing on the list. But at $300 a plate, man, pretty expensive. All right. I think I could probably stop there. Just double checking this. It's a light burr because it's a harder stone, and it's classified as a higher grit stone. So you're not going to get a gigantic, crazy, insane burr. I think the middle might need a little quick work there. Just kind of even it out. I do kind of sometimes get lost in the sharpening sometimes, guys, and I do apologize for any dead air. I would be open to any suggestions, you know, that you guys have to help keep it interesting while I'm doing this. I try to talk as much as possible. To some people, that's annoying. To my wife, it's annoying for sure. But anyway, I just try to keep it engaged anyway, and try to talk about things that are relative. Anyway, I do believe we're done there. I'm going to wipe it off. I just want to look at it one more time. I know, well, I'm going to do it after I do the burr removal. There's no sense in doing it at every step. So just like with the others, I'm going to put it at the same angle I sharpened at, and just do a little burr removal. I gotta tell you, this stone feels amazing. Go to Bernal Cutlery, spend the $75 plus the $10 or $11 shipping. Hell, actually, if you're a first-time visitor to their site, they'll give you a 10% off. Well, it doesn't work on these. Never mind. I tried. That's my bad. Never mind. Forget that. You can on everything else. But on these natural stones, especially these B stock ones, I believe that they're already discounted enough that they don't offer any further discounting on them. But $75, I mean, come on. This is a pretty good size stone. I believe it's classified a type 30? No, type 15? Type 15. This is a type 15, and I had no idea what that meant. I looked it up and it meant that was the number of stones that they could carry, I guess maybe in a backpack? I don't know. Or a carrying basket or something. Not a backpack, but a basket. I found that to be very interesting. Alright, so this is the final one before I check it. It really does feel good. Get this out of here. Alright, is the burr gone? The burr is completely gone. Oop, there might be some right there. So some at the tip. It's completely gone from the back. Let me just go ahead and give it a real quick. And honestly, that's because I've got all these wires and stuff in the way for the cameras. I didn't adjust them. Normally I got them out of my way, but they're kind of in my way right now. I just kind of gouged that stone a little. Didn't gouge, it didn't show a gouge, but with the knife I could feel the blade kind of dig a little bit. But if I'm not, I mean, if I'm honest with that, feedback, right? That's what feedback is. It didn't gouge the stone. It doesn't feel to have damaged the knife in any way, or the edge. I'm getting ready to look at it where I did it with the microscope to be sure. But it let me know it and allowed me to correct it without punishing me. That's what I like to call it anyway. Yeah. Good old natural stone. Let me take a look here where I just gouged that. This thing for, like I said, 20 bucks or whatever it was, is, you can't go wrong. This edge is super smooth, so it is not in any way like a chainsaw. Oh, there might be a little tooth. I mean, I guess you can't really get around some tooth, but it's only a second stone in the progression. I didn't spend a ton of time on it. I bet if I spent another 30 minutes on this knife, starting with a little extra time on the Amakusa and extra time on this one, I could almost guarantee you that that thing would be no teeth at all. All right, so I'm gonna dry this knife off really good, and we're gonna give it a test. The Nagara, by the way, if you guys are interested at all, I also got that from Bernal Cutlery. It's an old stock Mikawa Shiro Nagara, or again, I don't know all the words, I'm sorry. It was $58. Apparently it was from a 1960s prefecture. Anyway, so if you want one, I do believe they still have some. I have not used it yet, so I couldn't tell you anything about it. So as you see here, this thing with a rust eraser muddies up because it appears as if my GoPro locked up on me. I wasn't watching the GoPro like I usually do. So I'll just probably pipe in some video, or I'll talk about it here and add this in. Actually, it may not even be relevant, because all I was doing was finishing this up, and then I cleaned it with the rust eraser. So I'll splice video together, and it'll come to the point here where I say this stuff. I apologize, guys and gals. So what I did was I took the label here, and I even lacquered that in there. I'm a freak about that stuff. It appears as though it kind of came loose up top here, which is fine because I'll just add some more to it. It's no big deal. I'll let this dry. And you can see the stone here. There's no damage, no nothing. It looks nice whenever it's wet. It's kind of blue. Yeah, Bernal Cutlery. I don't know where this cut off, but Bernal Cutlery, $75. It's a B stock item. Really good stone from what I just was able to determine. If you don't have any naturals, I think 75 bucks is a good introduction, as well as on Strata Portland is where I got the Amakusa. It's a Morihei. It's $35. I recommend them too. They ship quick. So let's go for a cut test. All right, guys, here we go. Well, that is a toothy edge. Oh, good Lord. Let me wipe that off there, sorry. There was some shit on the bevel. There we go. All right, try that again. It was like, I don't know, it was kind of pasty. I don't know what the hell that was. That was weird. All right. So, oops. I mean, that's like butter. I don't know if it'll push cut. Maybe, maybe not. Oops. You got to be able to do it first. Not a tear. I mean, we're back to push cutting. Let me see if I can hold it higher here. Trying to hold it up high enough to see and do it right at the same time here. Oh, what the hell is that? All right, let's get a different piece of paper anyway. We're running out of room. I mean, you can see though, it was completely dead. It was dull. The Amakusa did its job. I honestly would spend more time. Sounds a little rough. Let me strop it real quick. I got a hanging strop up here. It's one of these guys that I got it from Amazon for $9. Super thick. It's got a suede side and a rough side. There was a little bit of burr on there. I don't want to put the stone back on. I didn't think it'd be a problem. But we'll go ahead and just completely remove the burr. A few strops here. I highly recommend a strop if you guys don't have one. I'm pretty sure most of you do. If you don't, I would get one. I also would say, I know this was, I'm going to say quick, and this video is like, what, forever long now? Who knows how long it is? It's long enough. I would spend more time on this knife, I believe, and I'm going to after this video. I mean, because if you're going to use this edge, you want to make sure it's completely perfect and not just hurried through. But anyway, so let's just kind of give it a little wipe. Give it a little test. Oh yeah. So here we go. Got you now. I'm letting it just kind of fall through. I mean, again, I still would spend more time. I'm gonna just two-finger this. it's its own weight. I mean, that is just. Oh, it's kind of hard to do with two fingers, but get up there. Get a different piece of paper. Its own weight, pulling through paper like that. I mean, you gotta be honest. I'm not gonna stop there, but oop, what the hell? I don't know what that's all about. It's an angle on that one. I mean, she just. Whew. Anyway, strop it, drop it, roll it. No, strop it. You can't go wrong. I'm going to do more on this, work on this off camera, of course. But, I mean, I'd be satisfied with that for cutting vegetables and meat and stuff from my own home kitchen, you know. There's nothing wrong with that. But I'm going to polish it up back to where it was. I'm going to get it back to an 8K edge. I love an 8K edge, especially when I'm working with veggies. If you guys have never done veggies with an 8K edge, I recommend it. More videos coming, guys. Like I said, the giveaway is live. For those that are subscribed, you're automatically entered. That your entry will not go away until I either am dead or you win in the giveaway. I'm going to do giveaways for the entirety of my channel. First one's at 500 subs, guys. We're not that far from it. Tell your friends, tell your neighbors, tell your relatives, tell everybody to come sub, but tell them that you sent them. Anyway, I appreciate you guys. Appreciate you looking. I'm going to do a different video format. I've just been kind of gearing this up. I've been doing these videos all weekend. A little burnt on it, but that's fine. Just burnt because I've been up forever. We're going to do more videos on the Morihei 4K stone versus the Sharpen 5K. Just kind of see what edge results we get with that. I've got a Shirogami Steel Bunka coming that we're going to do a test with. I'm going to run the gamut with it. I'm going to just start with a 1K stone. I'm going to just pick something and run it all the way up to 12K. Just see what we could do, just for fun, right? Doesn't need a 12K edge, but I like a 12K edge just to play with. I love the mirror kind of polish and whatnot. But appreciate you guys stopping by. Appreciate you checking the channel out. Look forward to seeing you guys in the next video.